Greetings esteemed guests and welcome to Potion Society, a 2 to 4 player potion crafting card game. All players take up the challenge of crafting the best potion according to a recipe. All players are making the same recipe, competing to prove they are the best potion apprentice. It's like MasterChef, but with potions. Each recipe awards points for completing and exceeding the requirements listed. The apprentice with the most points at the end wins. A potion in this world is made by creating components. A component is made by stacking ingredient cards, cooking the stack, and then putting it all into the potion bottle. Each player is given a potion bottle board, which has 3 slots for your 3 components. The first person to fill their bottle triggers the end of the game and scoring. So for this next part, we will be looking at the recipe and stacking. We have all kinds of recipes in the game, and you'll need to select one prior to starting. Each recipe has a star rating at the very top, and this isn't just difficulty. It represents potion complexity and the amount of time required to play. We will be explaining the game based on the 3-star wish recipe. Each recipe has 4 sections: mana, components, description, and details. The mana denotes how magical your potion is. And this number is the minimum requirement. You score points for each point above the minimum you are. For example, the Wish Potion has a mana requirement of 20, which means if you end up with a total of 25, you would score 5 points. Not meeting the minimum causes you to lose points. Next is Components. This section has 3 boxes, which represent the 3 sections of the player potion bottle. Each box will have a Roman numeral in it, either a 2 or a 3. This states what level of ingredient card needs to be present in that component. So, for a level 3 component, there must be at least 1 level 3 ingredient card present in that component stack. If it's a level 2 component, no level 3 cards can be in that stack. This will make more sense later. The description is flavor text and has no impact on the gameplay. And finally, details. The details describe what should be present to score additional points. Most recipes will have an element tag there. Players will score a point for each of those that appear within their potion. Sometimes there are multiple listed or none listed. And then the recipe may specify certain ingredients that need to be in the potion to gain points or avoid losing points. But a lot of this won't make much sense without looking at the ingredients, so let's have a look at those now. So, liquids, ingredients, and stacking. We have 2 types of cards that get stacked into components: potion liquids and potion ingredients. Let's have a look at these cards. So we have our cordial, turkey tail, and some dried beans. These cards are level 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Cordial is a level 1 card. You can see the level of the card by looking at the moon shape with the Roman numerals in it. Level 1 cards are always liquids and have the liquid element tag. They have no mana, mana is the top left number, and they also don't have any personality, very plain. These make up the base of your stacks. You need a liquid in each component stack, as this is what makes a potion. Otherwise, it's just stir fry. So let's move on to our level 2 card, the turkey tail. Level 2 cards have small amounts of mana. They have a non-liquid element, which will be one of 4 element types: earth, light, air, and dark. You can see the earth tag here. Level 2 cards also have a personality. Personalities in this game work like flavor profiles do. For example, we know that potatoes and carrots go really well together, but what if you did potatoes and marshmallows? Personalities reward you for stacking in certain ways. And finally, we have our dried beans, our level 3 ingredient. Level 3 ingredients tend to have more mana, as these cards are harder to stack and have more requirements. Level 3 cards have 2 non-liquid elements, and these can be any combination of earth, light, air, or dark, or can even be double of 1. An easy way to check what level a card is, you can refer to the leaves on the side of the card. 2 leaves means a level 3, a single blue leaf means a level 1, and a single leaf of any other color means a level 2. Level 3 cards also have a more advanced personality. Level 2 personalities are all about stacking, while level 3 personalities often affect the way they cook, give you extra actions, amongst other things. Also, all cards have a symbol that shows that they are a part of one of 3 types: arcane, fungi, or flora. So let's move on to stacking. Every component stack begins with a liquid card. You always start the game with one, but after that you'll need to buy more. One level 1 card must be present to stack anything else. Level 2 cards from there can be played and stacked on top of anything. For example, I'll stack my level 2 turkey tail on top of my liquid card here. I'll also stack 2 more level 2s on top of that, mold and bubbles. Now, if I want to play a level 3 card, I need to make sure that the cards underneath it meet the elemental requirements. My dried beans have the earth and air elements, which means that somewhere in the stack underneath this card, I need 2 level 2 cards that have those elements, which is why I played the turkey tail, which is earth, and the bubbles for the air. However, dried beans also has the hungry personality, which means it needs 3 level 2 cards under it. So I added that dark card to fulfill the requirement, and now I can play this card. But what if I wanted to play another level 3 directly over it? I have the secret ingredient, which requires an air card and a dark card. I actually can't play this, as the dried beans has consumed all 3 of those level 2 cards you see here. Those can't be used to play another level 3. I would need to play another 2 cards, so I can play my dandelion puff and black rose over the top of the beans, and then I can play the secret. Level 1 and level 2 cards can be stacked anywhere on top of anything. Also, a level 3 card could be played directly over another level 3, so long as under both of them there are enough level 2s to sustain both cards. For example, my dandelion puffs and black rose could go under the beans and I could still play the secret on top. Also, the rainbow element is wild and can be used in place of any level 2 element. A side note that level 1 liquid cards nullify any personality points. So for example, the turkey tail gives a +2 from its friendly personality if it is stacked over a card with the same element tag. This bonus is nullified by the liquid. Let's set up and start playing. Set up your play area by first selecting a recipe from the pile. As mentioned before, for this tutorial, we will be using the wish recipe. Place this to the side where it is accessible to everyone. Each player selects a potion bottle of their choice and then picks up the 3 wooden spoon cards of the same colour. We are demonstrating a 2-player game today. Player 1 will be yellow and player 2 will be purple. Make sure that each player has some space in front of them for their prep zone. Hand each player a turn order card. Then we set up the cauldrons in the centre of the space. You want to have 1 cauldron per player plus 1. So for a 2-player game, you would have 3 cauldrons. Then place down a bench next to the cauldrons. Now we need to set the temperature for each cauldron. Place a cauldron modifier card on the bottom half of each cauldron board. 1 should be set to low, 1 to high, and the rest to medium. Now shuffle each of the ingredients, spells, and liquid decks and place them to the side. Leave room for discard piles as well. Hand each player a liquid card face up in front of them and 6 ingredient cards for their hand. The person who cooked last goes first. Also, keep the cauldron modifier cards, spell effect trackers, and burns ice cubes easily accessible for use throughout the game. Alrighty, now that we're all set up, we can start playing. We'll be going through the first 4 rounds and then looking at some specific features and then scoring. So let's go through the different phases of a player's turn. There are 2 phases, the preparation phase and the cooking and spells phase. I'm going to explain these as they appear, but let's start with prep. So the preparation phase. In this phase, players prepare their potion components by playing cards to their preparation zone. The preparation phase is made up of 4 steps which can be viewed on your turn order card. These steps do not need to be completed in any particular order. You can play cards to existing stacks in your prep zone or start new stacks. You can take an action by discarding 2 of your ingredient cards. You can discard any ingredient cards that you don't want. And finally, you can move a stack to a cauldron to cook it. So, for my turn, I'm going to start by stacking onto the cordial to start making my first of 3 potion components. Here's a look at my hand. I have 6 cards. I am going to stack my bok choy onto my cordial. Keep in mind that we don't score points until the end, but like I mentioned earlier, the liquid card will nullify personality effects, so this +2 for the friendly personality won't be scored. Then I stacked my trapped flame on top of the bok choy. The trapped flame has a gloomy personality, so you get a point for stacking on top of ingredients with a dark or earth element. Bok choy is an earth, so that's a good move. Next, I stack my small bell onto the trapped flame. The small bell is friendly, which means I get 2 points if I'm stacking on top of the same element. Both are light, so this is good. Next, I stack my star anise on top of the small bell. My star anise is peppy and will give me a +1 for stacking on air or light, which I've done. And finally, I'm going to stack my fallen star on top of this stack. The fallen star is a level 3 ingredient that has 2 light elements. To play this card, I need 2 light elements in my stack, which I also have. I have 1 ingredient left, but I don't want to add this to my stack and I can't do anything with it, so I'm going to discard it. because I don't want to keep it in my hand. Now I have a stack in front of me and I can either end my turn here and continue stacking on top of this next turn, or I can choose to move it into one of the cauldrons to cook it. So I'm going to gather up my stack, place a spoon down the bottom and choose a cauldron. Choosing a cauldron can be tricky as you don't want to risk your stack burning. You'll need to take into account how many ingredient cards are in your stack, including the liquid at the bottom. So my stack is 6 cards. Each cauldron's temperature is indicated by the heat flames on the card. Low temperature has 1 flame, which means the spoon will move up 1 ingredient card per turn. Medium has 2 flames, spoon will move up 2 ingredient cards per turn. High has 3 heat flames and will cook 3 cards per turn. There is also an extreme, which cooks 4 cards, and off, which cooks no cards. The stack finishes cooking when the spoon reaches the top. So back to my stack, I have 6 cards, which means I could place it onto any temperature, and if no one tampers with it, it won't burn even on high. If I only had 5 cards in my stack and I placed it on high, in one turn it would cook 3 cards, and in the second turn it would go 1, 2, and burn. High cards always cook 3, and if you don't have 3 cards, you will accumulate a burn for each card it doesn't have there to cook. This will make more sense when we see it in action. For now, I will place this onto the high cauldron and end my turn. The stack doesn't cook on the turn it enters the cauldron as it needs to warm up first. Now I draw back up to 6 cards and play moves to the next player. Alrighty, so for my turn, I will be stacking my Sundrop onto my orange juice liquid. Next, I stack my Chanterelle on top of the Sundrop. I have a light card and an earth card in my stack so far. I've met the elemental requirements to play my Hemlock. However, the Hemlock has the Thirsty personality, which requires an additional liquid card to be played, so I'm going to take an action to buy another liquid card. I sacrifice my Hound's Tongue and my Dandelion Puff to draw a liquid from the deck. I've drawn the Fresh Water, which I can play straight away. I play that over my Chanterelle, and then I play my Hemlock card. All I have left is my Starlight, which I'm actually going to keep. The Wish recipe calls for light element ingredients, but it also has bonuses for including certain ingredients, and Starlight is one of those. So I'll keep that in my hand for next turn. I'm then going to add this to the medium cauldron as it's empty. There are only 5 cards in my stack, so it could burn, but I'm going to try and get a spell before then to hopefully protect it. And then it's the end of my turn, so I'll draw back up to my hand size, which is determined by how many of my potion components are empty, which in my case is all 3. You draw 2 cards per empty component, up to 6 cards. I'm keeping my Starlight, so I'll draw 5 to bring me back up to 6. And play goes back to player 1. For my prep phase, I'll start by buying a liquid card. Can't start a stack without a liquid. So I'll sacrifice my berries and wood sorrel to draw a new liquid from the deck, which in my case is wine. I'll play the wine card to my prep zone, then I'll stack some of my other ingredients. Button mush above the wine, then the rosemary, and then the other button mush, which gives a +1 because I've stacked over an earth card. And finally, I'll play my peppercorns on top of that. I'm going to do a quick mana check. So let's grab the recipe and check. So I need to hit a minimum of 20 mana to score points for the mana section of the recipe. The stack currently cooking has 12 mana, and I can check this by counting the top left number on each card. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. The stack currently in my prep zone has 2, 3, 5, 7 mana so far, which is a total of 19. So I'm not going to cook this yet. I want to try and add a bit more so I can boost my points. I have no cards left in my hand and nothing else I want to prep, so let's move to the cooking and spell phase of my turn. So now that my stack has been in the cauldron for a turn, I can now cook it. So this stack is sitting on high heat, which has the 3 flames. My spoon moves up 3 cards, so 1, 2, 3. This is going to finish cooking next turn. If I had any spell cards, this is where I could play them. I don't have any, so I fill my hand, and play goes to player 2. For my prep phase, I will need to buy a liquid as I don't have one in my prep zone at the moment, so I will sacrifice 2 cards and pull another from the deck. Then I'll play the oil straight into my prep zone, and I'll stack my black rose and pearl shards on top, and then I can play my Starlight. I have 1 card left over which I'm going to discard. There is nothing else I want to prepare, so it's on to cooking. So I will move my spoon up 2 cards. It has 2 turns left before it's done, and then I will draw my cards and end my turn. For my prep phase, I'm going to play my 2 solar sprouts onto my existing stack. I will lose a point for the first one because it's not being stacked on top of a light card, but the second one gives me a point, so it negates it. I have 4 cards left in my hand. I'm going to buy a liquid to start my next stack. I'll play my pearl shards onto this new liquid and discard my blossom honey. Now I'm going to move this big stack to a cauldron. The only available cauldron is the low one, so that's where it's going to go. I also have the peppercorns level 3 in my stack. This card has the spicy personality, which is going to cook a card instantly once it enters the cauldron. So my spoon moves up 1. That's it for the prep phase, and now I go to cooking and spells. The one that just entered the cauldron won't cook this turn, but my first stack is now done. It moves up 3 cards, the spoon has reached the top. So I take the stack and I place it inside my potion bottle. Now I can pick up cards for my hand. This time I only pick up 4 cards as I've now completed one of the 3 potion components. Back over to player 2. For my turn, I'm going to add to my existing stack. I stack my bubbles, gold leaf, and fairy wings. I'm going to discard 2 cards and draw a spell this time. I drew a burnt spell, which I can use later. Now I should move this into a cauldron. However, both level 3 cards in this stack have requirements. The fairy wings on top can only be cooked on low or medium heat, otherwise it will burn every turn. So I can't place it onto the high heat cauldron without it burning every turn. My starlight will also delay cooking by a turn. So let's go over to cooking and spells. First I cook, and my spoon moves up 2 cards this turn. It will finish cooking next turn. And I can play the spell I picked up earlier. This spell is the burnt spell. I can apply 1 burn card to any cauldron stack. So I'll grab a burn card and burn player 1's stack. This card is placed into player 1's potion bottle so the penalty can be applied later. And the spell is discarded. Now I draw back up to 6 and play goes back to player 1. So in this turn, after playing my cards, I discarded my spare cards for a spell. And it's the heat up spell. I could heat up a cauldron of my choice. I finish the rest of my prep and then I cook, so my spoon moves up 1 because the heat is low. Then I will play my heat up spell and I'll heat up the one I'm currently on, so I can flip the modifier so it increases the heat to medium. From next turn, this cauldron will cook 2 cards at a time. I draw up to my 4 card hand limit and I pass back over to player 2. In this turn, I discard all 6 of my cards to draw a liquid and 2 spells. The liquid goes into my prep zone, ready to start a new stack. Then the 2 spells I drew. I drew a cooldown spell, which I can use to lower the temperature of a cauldron. I also drew a super brew, which allows me to cook 2 cards instantly. I'm going to move my stack into the high cauldron, which I said earlier I wasn't going to do because of the dainty personality, but I'm going to take the burn. So I'll move it in there, grab a burn card, and put that into my potion bottle for later. Then it's onto the cooking phase. My other stack cooks and burns. It only had 1 card left to cook, so that burns as well. I place a burn on the stack and then move that stack into my potion bottle. And now I can play the spells. The cooldown spell I play onto the high cauldron and reduce its heat to medium. And then I'll play my super brew to kickstart the cooking process. So the spoon moves up 2. I draw up to 4 cards and pass back over to player 1. Now we'll look at a couple of other features in the game and then move on to scoring. So the switch spell. You can use this card to move stacks, either yours or others, between cauldrons. So for example, someone turned off my cauldron, so I'm going to move my stack to one with extreme heat so it can cook more quickly. The interference spell. You can play this card to throw some ice cubes into a cauldron to slow down cooking. The ice cubes card gets placed directly above the spoon's position in the stack. It acts as an ingredient that needs to be cooked. So even after the spoon moves through it, it remains in the stack. It can completely ruin someone's stack and cause burns and chaos. We have the get benched spell. You want to play this spell to move a stack that's in the cauldron to the bench. This stack's cooking is paused and can't continue until the stack is moved off the bench. If the bench already has something on it, you can use this spell to swap the bench stack with the one already in a cauldron. You can discard 2 ingredient cards to move a stack off the bench if there's a cauldron available. There are heaps of cool spells, but I won't go through all of them, but just know that all can cause a fair amount of chaos if you so choose. Alright, so let's have a look at how the game ends. The player that is the first to complete all 3 components will trigger the end of the game. The other players will have one final turn to finish off their components as much as they can, by cooking and by playing spells. Any stacks completed at this time move to the potion bottle. For any stacks that haven't finished cooking, take whatever is under the spoons and move that to your bottle. And now we are ready to score. Let's see whose potion reigns supreme through scoring. The first thing we do when scoring is slip all of the components off the potion board and flip the board over. This way we have our scoring reference handy. Scoring is split into 4 sections, which allows us to examine different parts of the potion's quality. We'll be explaining scoring by looking at player 1. We first start with the negatives, so we remove any burns or ice cubes from our potions. Player 1 had 2 burns, so they start at a negative 4 points. We also check our components. Have we filled all 3 components of the bottle? If there's 1 or more missing, you lose 3 points for those. Player 1 has all 3 components, so no points are lost. We also check if each component has correctly met the level requirements. So the Wish Potion requires all 3 components to have at least 1 level 3 card in each, which you can see that player 1's components all feature a level 3, so no points are lost. Next, we move to mana. The Wish Potion has a minimum mana requirement of 20 mana. So we go through and count up the mana in each component stack. The left stack has 12 mana, the middle stack has 14, and the right stack has 10, leaving us with a mana total of 36, which is 16 points above the requirement, so we score 16 points. Next is details. The Wish recipe awards a point for each time a light element tag appears in our potion, which for player 1, it appears a total of 8 times, so we score 8 points. Then our recipe also awards points for including 2 or more of the following ingredients: Stardust, Starlight, Fallen Star, and Small Bell. Player 1's potion includes 2 small bells and a fallen star. In the recipe, you score 3 points for each more than 1 included, so that's 6 points for player 1. And finally, we score our personality bonuses. Be careful not to disrupt your stacks before this point to make sure you're counting your bonuses correctly. So for our personality points, let's start with the left stack. We get nothing for the cordial or the bok choy, but we get a point for the trapped flame's gloomy personality as we stacked it onto an earth element. We get another 2 points for stacking on top of the same element with the small bell's friendly personality. The star anise's peppy personality awards a point for stacking over a light element. So for the middle stack, we get nothing for the wine or for the button mush. The rosemary has the tasty personality, but these points go towards mana, so I actually already included this in my count earlier. We then get a point for the button mush's peppy for stacking over an air. We get nothing for the peppercorns. We lose a point for the first solar sprout, but this is negated by the second solar sprout. And now for the right stack, we get nothing for the orange juice or the pearl shards. We get 2 points for stacking over the same element with the small bell. We added the tasty +1 earlier to the mana, and then we get nothing from the aloe vera or the parrot wax cap. This leaves a total of 7 personality points and a grand total of 33 points for player 1. So you can see a full breakdown of player 2's scores up on screen, but player 2 ended up with a total of 13 points, which means that player 1 is our winner with 33 points. And that's how you play Potion Society! Thank you so much to everyone who's made this game possible, to all of our wonderful Kickstarter backers who not only believed in our project, but backed us financially. We are a team of 2 and we are so proud of this project, and we are so glad that we've been able to share it with many wonderful people. If you would like a copy of Potion Society, check out the Murmuring Mystic website. If you like what we do, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and follow us on socials to keep up with all the things. Bye friends!